everybody, and welcome back to another video. Today will be part 1 of a little series that I'm going to call Learning How to Make a Simple Illustration or Drawing. Except the titles will probably be shorter because that is a mouthful. Now, today we are going to focus on thumbnailing and coming up with your original ideas for your illustration, whether this could eventually go into like a comic or a book, or it could just be a simple illustration. Now, for this, you will really only need a pencil. Depending on if your pencil has an eraser, you could need a separate eraser, and you don't need a fancy pencil or anything. As you can see, I'm using a well-loved, just regular mechanical pencil, and something to draw on. It could be a napkin, it could be a piece of printer paper, or it could be a sketchbook like I have. Now, to start off, let's go ahead and open up our sketchbook to whatever page you are wanting to use. Get that little friend out of there. And we're going to start by thinking of some ideas. Now, what do you want to draw? Do you want to draw an animal? Do you want to draw a person? Do you want to draw a scene, like buildings, or a garden, nature? Those are all something that you want to think about before you start drawing. So to start off with, I'll show you a few different ideas for what you might want to draw. So if you want to draw like a building sitting, oh my gosh, words are so hard. If you want to draw a building setting, you might want to draw something that kind of looks like a city or a street. Here, I'll move this a little closer for the moment. So you might want to draw a little sketch of some buildings lining a street, and whether you want this to be higher than the street, you would either place like street lights, or if this was a lot higher, like maybe these buildings are super tall, then you might not have this street light if it's not that close to the ground. So you just want to layer your buildings. Again, if you're not drawing buildings, you can still listen to this, because this could have some good ideas for your design that you're eventually going to work out. And you also want to figure out your okay, it's leaving my brain, but it's kind of it's a point that your whole drawing is based off of. So everything, it's the horizon. That's what it is. So say I wanted my horizon to be right there, then I'd want all of my building corners to line up with that horizon. Now, if I erase the street light and everything, now you can see that if I have my horizon point here and I connect those bottom two corners, it looks like a street. And as you can see, it fades into the background. So if that were how you were drawing your city, you'd want to line that street with buildings, but you'd want to make sure, now this isn't the best perspective, but you'd want to line your street, something like that. And this is just one idea. Then you could go in and figure out your details, but again, this is just a thumbnail. It doesn't need to be super detailed or anything. This is just laying out your base ideas. Now for something like a nature drawing, so maybe you're in a forest. Today I'm going to use some inspiration. It is currently snowing. I know, like 3 days ago it was like 100 degrees, 95 degrees. It was crazy, and now it's snowing. I don't get it. I was wearing tank tops, and now I'm wearing long sleeve shirts. So we're going to kind of take some inspiration from the weather outside. So I'm just going to draw some simple pine trees, because that's the most common tree where I live. So with something like this, again, you really don't need that much detail. So as you can see, I just blocked in the trunk and these top leaves, and I'm just going to kind of continue this weird curvy triangle all the way down, and just kind of add in a little bit of detail, connecting those weird triangle curvy things to the trunk, something like that. As you can see, it's not great. It's just really simple and an idea. We're just laying down ideas. Now in this scene, I want to have a little snowman in the foreground, so this tree's probably in the background, so I'm going to draw a little hill coming up, and it's okay if it cuts through the tree because it's in the background. Now on this hill, I'm going to draw a little snowman. Let's name him Frosty because we all know Frosty the Snowman. And as you can see, this is just laying out our ideas. Now, maybe we want the sky to be kind of foggy and for this background to be a little hazy. So I'm going to go ahead and remove anything that's in front of this hill and kind of shade in down here. Just kind of scribble along with your pencil to kind of make this a little blurry and out of focus, and scribble a little bit more on the out as you go more towards the sky. And this will kind of create the illusion of fog. Remember, this is just, as I've said many times, it's just a thumbnail, so it does not need a bunch of detail. You can add a simple face to your snowman just to get the idea, but you really don't need to add detail. See, like, super simple, really not a great drawing. All you need to do is plan out your layout and how all of the pieces of your drawing are going to work together. And let's see, in the background here, maybe I'll have another little hill. And on this hill, we'll have some more trees. Now, these trees are not going to be as detailed as this tree. They're just going to be really easy, just kind of scribble down the sides like that. And these are just going to kind of represent these trees in the background that are kind of out of focus and way pushed behind the snowman. If you want, you can add a sun or a moon or anything, but I'm just going to kind of lightly shade here because it is most likely kind of white outside because it's snowing. You can add a couple snowflakes if you like. But here is kind of a wintry, naturey scene. And now I'll kind of move on to a really detailed nature scene. So you might say you want to draw a fairy in a tree house or something kind of like that. You might want to make something that's kind of like, I don't know, a tree or a very small house, which we can take some inspiration from this drawing over here. And we can use both of these drawings to inspire, and we can learn from them to work on this drawing here. So I'm going to start by drawing the trunk of a tree. Now this is going to be kind of the midsection, and I want to have my tree house kind of placed on a branch. So I'm going to bring out a little branch just like this. Again, remember, not a lot of detail, just like that. And I'm going to place my little house right in the middle. So this house, I'm just going to have a very simple, one-tiered, kind of organic, classic house that you probably learned to draw in like first grade. And I'm just going to add in some basic detailing. And I'm just planning out how I'm going to place out everything. Now, if I want a little walkway across this branch, I can also mark that out, and maybe it leads to a hole in the tree right here. And inside that hole is a little ladder, so you can only see part of the ladder, but maybe that ladder goes all the way up and down the tree. And I'm just going to scribble in some simple, how many times am I going to say simple? Tell me in the comments down below, count how many times I say simple. But I just have these really scribbly, messy indication lines that this is a tree and not like a post or fence or a rock. And let's say I want to also have my fairy in this picture, so I'm just going to really simply kind of block out the shapes of a person and the line of action. And if you don't know what that means, like if you're drawing a person, that's kind of the flow. So say if my person was falling forward, their line of action might be something like this, because their upper body is falling forward while their lower body is kind of staying in place. So that's just what the line of action means. So I kind of plan that out, and then I really simply just sketch in the simple shapes. Now, my fairy is going to be a girl, so I will obviously have more of an hourglass shape. If your fairy is another gender, then you can definitely look at some references that might help you figure out the anatomy of your fairy. I'm just going to have the arms in kind of this neutral, kind of just in front flying pose, the legs kind of off the back. And then my wings are going to come, they're going to be 2-part wings, kind of like that. There you go. There's our third thumbnail sketch. And as you can see, this shows more of a fantastical, nature-y kind of scene. Now, if you wanted to do a portrait of a person, you might want to fill up most of your space with that person. So, keeping that in mind, we will probably use most of this box for the bust. Now, I'm just going to draw the bust for this person. Actually, yeah, we'll just use the bust. We'll go a little bit quicker. So I'm going to start by making a circle that shows the kind of cranium and the top of the skull. And then I'm going to kind of square out and point the jaw coming off of that cranium. Now I'm going to have my person looking a little bit to the right. So again, I'm going to create my line of action. Just kind of fairly straight, a little pointed or curved to the left, and off of this head you can see part of the neck, so I'm going to show a little bit of that neck connecting to the back of the head. And then this other part of the neck, a good way to measure is if you're drawing somebody at a 3/4 or side angle. At a 3/4 view, their neck is, depending on the person, if you're using a reference, this is obviously different, but for me, a lot of the times I'll gauge the thickness of the neck by where the head starts, so this part of the jaw, and then when it points, there's a little corner right here. I start at that corner, and then I start at the chin. And that kind of gives me the thickness of the neck. Obviously, this isn't super realistic, so it will vary depending on your drawing style. And then I just kind of curve it in and out to create the shoulders. And then the shoulders continue down, just like this. And obviously I gave this person some broad shoulders. You can definitely, depending if this is a kid, you might have thinner or less broad shoulders, or if this is a football player, they will have much broader shoulders. So just depending again on who you're drawing and your drawing style. Now I am going to make this character female just because I enjoy drawing females. So I'm going to go ahead and at the back of the head, I'm just going to add an ear, really simple, like C shape, like a very stretched out C. And the nose is not gonna, they're not turned enough for the nose to poke off of the head. So I'm gonna make the nose just about to poke off of the head, but not completely. And I'm going to, actually I'm not gonna erase because it's good to see your sketch underneath. But I'm going to adjust the shape of the head a little bit, a little bit, so that you can kind of see the cheek right there. And this eye is going to be basically unnoticeable. So the right eye you won't be able to see very much of, but the left eye will be normal. And I'm using my cartoon style again for drawing here. And again, this is really loose, so it doesn't matter that much if everything looks perfect. And then this eye is just kind of there. That is way too low. So bring that eye a little bit higher. That's a little better, but again, it doesn't really need to be very good at all. And for the mouth, since this is a cartoon, I'm not going to make perfect proportions or realistic lips. I just kind of make a little line, sometimes a little underline to show the bottom lip. Sometimes I'll do an overlip, but in this case, I'm not going to. Now, I like to see, sometimes the head looks very bean-shaped, and for me, and my drawing style, I don't necessarily prefer that. I prefer a head that is a little more natural shaped with a little bit less of a huge forehead. So, our friend here looks a little strange without hair, but that's what we're going to add next. So, my hair here is just going to part way to the right, or in this case, left of this person. And we're going to have a little bit of a front bang. And their hair is going to just be straight, come straight down, kind of something like this. Make it a little messy because it's probably morning hair, you know, just a loose sketch. So here we have the hair, and I kind of just added in a little bit of a neckline for a shirt. I like to add in a little dip to indicate the collarbone. Sometimes I add so that you can see a little bit more of the clavicle, but in this case there's not very much room for that, so I just add a little bit of a dip to indicate that. And here you have a basic, very simple, not very good sketch of a layout. Now if you wanted to have a background, say something like swirly or just really random, you could also lay that out. This is what thumbnails are for, just for laying out ideas. And for our final thumbnail, we're going to look at an animal. So this will be kind of similar to the portrait over here, except we'll probably see more of the animal. So I'm going to draw a dog because I love drawing dogs, but you can draw whatever animal that you'd like. So to start off with, I like to plan out where the head and the body are going to be. So I make just two kind of circular, ovular shapes to plan out those parts. And then from there, I go and I make my line of action. And since this is a dog, I'm going to make this a little bit of a wolf or fantastic creature. So I'm going to make the tail extra long and swooshy. And then I'm going to create the muzzle, kind of this rectangular trapezoidal shape, but half of it's cut off. And then the neck goes a little bit down from the back of the head and a little bit down from the chin. Coming just like this. Fades into the tail. And I'm going to try and add a little bit of motion and action so this drawing doesn't seem too stiff. So I'm going to have this dog or wolf or whatever you want to call it kind of walking forward. Something like that. And the back legs will just be following that same kind of motion. And almost kind of seems like he's sneaking, so why don't we go along with that and flatten the ears like that so that you can kind of tell, oh, something's going on, where he's not he's especially alert and kind of very focused. Now this tail, I'm going to add a lot of motion and action because I want it to be a center point of this drawing. And now for this drawing, I'm going to add a little bit of a ground since we can see the entire body of the, I almost said snowman there, the whole body of the wolf. And in animals like this, I don't normally add any facial features. Sometimes I'll add a little dot for the eye and nose just to make sure that I can tell what's going on. Excuse me. But I really don't add much, and if there's any fur details, I only add them in very lightly, not very detailed. As you can see, a squiggle and a squiggle. And for this background, I kind of want it to be as if he's in a forest, so let's draw some, really, maybe he's in a path and there's some trees pushed back against the edge of the path. So we'll create some thin street trees, just kind of, poking up here and there at different levels of the plane. So just add whatever you like to your background, and you can go back to these drawings here and see if there's anything you can reference that might help you. Oh my, that was loud. I'm sorry about that. Okay, so I'm just going to finish off by adding in just some light, there you go. That's really all you need. I might add some grass details to show that maybe this is a grass or dirt path with some grass sticking out of it. I am so sorry for that background noise. I do not know what is going on the bottom of my house. So sorry. So this mostly concludes what we're going to be going through today. Thumbnailing, and you can use these different elements to design whatever kind of drawing that you want to or illustration that you want to make. And in the next episode, we're going to go over how to make a working, cohesive, and nice to look at sketch. So thank you so much for watching. I hope that this was a little bit helpful, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to like and subscribe if you'd want to. That just kind of lets me know if liking lets me know if you like this kind of content, and if not, give me a thumbs down. That'll let me know that you don't, and I will try something different for you guys. So thank you so much for watching. I hope that I see you next time, and bye!